It's a new month, and that means there's a whole load of new 3D prints for everybody to be able to get. So in this video, I will have everything timestamped below so you can find out which section you want to go to. So if it's fantasy, sci-fi, Kickstarter, terrain, anything like that. But let's kick it off. So first off, let's start off with fantasy sets and which ones you'll be able to get. And we are starting with Artisan Guild. So this month's set is humans and flying creatures, and I really like the look of these. I think there's some really fantastic ones looking on here, and it tends to be quite rare that they do like their more humanoid type things. They normally have some whimsical, fantastic sort of thing, and these look really fun. You've got all of these wyverns. You've got like the Pegasus rider here as well, which looks absolutely awesome. It's a weird tiny bit of terrain, which is a bit bizarre. But for the most part, I think these would make some really fun either D&D characters or a really fun like skirmish group as well. Or even if you scaled them down just a little bit as well, they'd probably fit with something like either the old world, or you could probably have some really fun proxies in there as well for like Age of Sigmar. So you could go absolutely wild with these. Next on the list, we've got Gammock, and I've written here Orcs and Goblins and like goblin trolls. So these ones I thought were really fun as well. So let's pull those up. Here we go. So you've got some really interesting looking like old school orcs, then combined with these big old trolls. And I really like the trolls for these ones because everyone tends to do trolls quite similar to the old like Games Workshop ones. And to be fair, I love the old classic like stone trolls and river trolls. But I love the fact that these are like giant goblins. So if you've got like an orcs and goblins army or something like that, these are really fun. And I think they'd make such a unique piece on the board because they just look like an overblown goblin. And you could just have some really fun like headcanon or head lore or something like that for it. The orcs on boars as well look really good. I think the thing that really stands out to me is that those boars look fantastic. They look really menacing. That's not to say that normal boars aren't good, but they look like a cross between like a boar and a wolf. Especially like this guy here, like I guess he's like the commander or something. It looks so much fun. It does look like they just took the wolf sculpts and boar sculpts and rammed them together. So I really like this set. Obviously, as well, you do get some extra bits on there. So you've got like the dwarf sculpts here. So if you're also doing dwarves, also good fun there. And then you've got like the human like empire type sets. I'm not massively taken with those, but the orcs and like the giant goblins, yeah, definitely. Really like that. So that's Gammock. Next up, we've got Stormborn Collectibles, and that is the Shadowborn twins. I think this is the first time that I've had them on here as like one of my recommendations. And granted, you only get the 2 sculpts for this, but they're 2 really good looking sculpts. And I think, although I've included this in the fantasy section, because I think this would be quite fun to either maybe have, I don't know, 2 leaders for different war bands. I think that'd be quite fun. I think they would work really nicely also in D&D as well, because they'd be quite nice villains that you're going up against, and they could have some kind of connection there. You could probably have a lot of fun like storytelling with these. They're very good looking sculpts. I mean, both of these look fantastic. The amount of detail on here looks great. And although there is a lot of detail, it's not obnoxious detail. You know, like sometimes Games Workshop sculpts have all these just weird bits hanging off them that make them really difficult to paint. These, not so much. I think it's all quite easy to paint detail. Well, I say easy to paint, but nice detail. Detail that you don't mind having on there. These, I really like them. Yeah, absolutely. So that's Stormborn Collectibles. And that is the twins, the Shadowborn twins. Next up, Mini Monster Mayhem and Undead I've written. I can't quite remember. Aha, here we go. The First, it's called. So you've got a lot of really interesting sculpts on this one. And I don't think I've had, again, Mini Monster Mayhem on this sort of video before. So lots of random new creators that I haven't ever really looked into in too much detail. These look great. I think they look really good. I don't know if there's a better picture we can zoom in on more. Here we go. Yes. I mean, these look fantastic. And there's a lot of undead sculpts out there. You know, if you're an undead player, you are not, you know, it's not as though you're starved for choice. There is so much. But I like these. They kind of look like they might be hell to paint, not paint, print. I don't know. Anyone in the comments who's had experience with these, let us know. Are they easy to, are the pre-supports and everything good? There is so much detail on these. And again, I think it was One Page Rules who did the big like vampire sculpt with all the undead and everything. And I said about painting it in like a thematic way. I think these would be really fun to paint in a thematic way. The way the render's done, for example, like it's all black and white and then all the red glowing bits. Just doing something like that with a paint scheme and an airbrush, I think would look really, really good on these because there's so much detail and so much to these. I mean, this big old dragon creature, you've got all these like winged creatures. This chariot thing as well looks really fun. I really like them, like a lot. There's so much going on with these. There's some like close-ups here. Even if you've already got a big undead army, just getting this set and printing one thing from this, whether or not it's the dragon or the chariot, I think would be really, really fun. There's so much going on here. So that is Mini Monster Mayhem and their undead set. Next up, we've got good old Highlands Miniatures. And this month, they are not doing Orcs and Goblins, which makes me kind of sad because, I love my Orcs and Goblins. But they are doing more of their Sunland Knights, so basically Empire. So if you're Old World at the moment and you're wanting to expand that, they are currently going back through like loads of their old sets and remastering them and just making them look more modern. And again, these look great. Empire's always been a fun, weird one for me. I prefer Bretonia just because more whimsical colours and everything, but I understand that a lot of people will like more Empire stuff. And also these would make some great stuff to go with Cities of Sigmar. I said that weirdly, but there's a lot going on here. So you get a lot for your money. You obviously get your knights, you get your knights on foot, you get all the shooters, you get this weird chariot thing, and obviously a steam tank as well. And I love this with a little crow's nest up there as well. So if you're an Empire player or like Cities of Sigmar, said it better that time, then check out Highlands Miniatures. They've got some great stuff going on. Next up, we've got Vevictus and Halfling Elite I've written on this one. And these ones look like a lot of fun. Here we go. So they've got almost like halflings in Empire gear. And these would be a lot of fun. I don't know how you'd make an army of these, but maybe having a couple of regiments of these to go alongside, like your Empire army. So if you've got the Highlands Miniature set and this set, and then having these as like the fun little whimsical ones to go along with it. Yeah, I really like these. They're just random and fun, and there's lots of little extra ones to go with it as well. So even if maybe you were doing a war band, it'd just be something a little bit different. There they are. I just think these are great. And like the little animals on their shields, that they look so serious. They're all so serious, they're ready for war. And then you've got like a fish, like a little cockerel. These are great. There's just fun little details like that on there. See, all barefoot and big old hairy feet. And you know what? I can relate. Hairy feet. Whew, I'm in there. Next up, we've got Beholder Miniatures, and I've got Elves and Chaos Barbarians. And these, I think, are pretty much always on my list lately. And there's a lot going on for these ones. So let's load those up. Here we go. So Elves and Barbarian Chaos. Barbarian? I give up. So obviously you've got all your elf sculpts here. And again, if you're into High Elves or Chaos, every month they seem to have some really, really good sculpts to go with that. And I really like these. They're quite, simple is absolutely the wrong word for it. But there is so much detail on there. But again, it's not that obnoxious detail. It's nice to paint and print detail. Things like their weapon shafts, I think they do a really good job of making sure that they're thick enough. Because looking at that, for example, just doesn't look realistic at all. That's massive. It's going to be, that's a big shaft. I say that on the channel far too much. But that is a big, big shaft. And it's great because it means when you're printing it, it's more likely to succeed. And it means when you pick up the model, it's not going to shatter. So really, really like that attention to detail there. Going through them, obviously you've then got like your Chaos Barbarians. And again, these look great. You've got like the demon symbology there as well. Again, big, thick weapon shafts. Nice amount of detail without going over the top. and going through them, different angles and weapons and everything as well. Then you've got some eagles. Eagles with helmets is an interesting decision. Not a massive fan, but it is what it is, and it looks quite good. The render, and I mean, this eagle he's suffering, or she's suffering. Maybe they're not. Maybe that's what these eagles are into. Moving across, yeah, different eagles and different poses with no headpieces, and then female barbarians as well. And these look great. Just there's so much going on with these. I think they look fantastic. Either if you're doing a war band, I think these would be really good fun to have. And again, if you were, fleshing out your chaotic army or something, some really good stuff. And again, different weapons. And it's things like this, although I'm not too sure how well that would hold up on the table. At least those chain links are pretty thick and most likely going to survive at least playing with a bit. So there's a lot going on here. Eagle carrying a flying boat thing. Just, again, something nice and thematic to add into your army. So a lot going on there. So that's Beholder Miniatures with their sets there. Their Chaos and Elves set. Can't say Barbarian, apparently. Oh, I can. Fantastic. So that is a fantasy. So next up, moving on to Sci-Fi. And Station Forge have been doing their bit. So they've got some Tyranids and also like Gene Stealer cults. And they added something last night, which I haven't seen yet. So that'll be interesting once it finally loads. Here we go. So last night they that's interesting. So they seem to be taking almost like the Grimguard stuff and thematic stuff they've been doing, and it looks quite like they've combined it with their Helldiver aesthetic that they were doing as well. I like that. That's interesting because everything's been very themed. And recently I've just done a video, although I haven't edited it yet, but I've painted up like 80 of their Grimguard with 2 tanks and 2 trucks in like a 48-hour period. And I really, really like their theme of stuff. But I've also painted some of the Helldiver stuff. I like the fact they're trying to combine those. So those look really nice. I think they do such a good job. There's so much choice. If you are like an Imperial Guard player, you've got so much choice if you go with someone like Station Forge. And these look great. I love the fact that in the render, unless they're are they prints? They must be renders. But I love the fact that they show the layer lines there. I've never noticed that before. I don't know if that's a new thing or not, or maybe it is a picture of an actual print. That's hilarious. Okay, and they have also added like their Gene Stealer cult type thing. So I assume now they're going to be going into Gene Stealer cults, which is going to be really interesting to see how that turns out, especially with how they've absolutely nailed down their Tyranid stuff and how well they do like their guard stuff. I'm just kind of like mashing those together. I'm interested to see how that's going to go. And you've got the weird old clankers, which, let's pop those up. They look fun. They're random. It's not something I print because it would get me into another army. But again, if you're into, obviously, your Mechanicus and all of that, then yeah, some good bits there. And finally, you've got this big old Tyranid thing. And this looks fun. Again, they did the crab set last month. They're like crab type Tyranids. And they looked really good. And this is that same sort of theming, so big fan of that. So if you're into Tyranids, and it looks like they're going to be going into Gene Stealer cults, or if you just want Guardsmen, absolutely fantastic stuff there. So next up, we've got, I assume that's Gamuk, and it's auto-corrected, Chaos, Tyranids, and Guardsmen. Let's pop that up here. And we will find it. There it is. So, yes, this month you've got a really good range from Gamuk. You've got obviously like your chaotic dreadnoughts here, which look absolutely awesome. Your jump packs, the Raptors, I believe, for Chaos, they look really, really nice. There's, again, a really good amount of detail on there. Close enough to the stuff, obviously, from Games Workshop, but different enough that they'd stand out and be different. And of course, you've got things like your Tyranids on there. So you've got your Tyranid Flyers, which look absolutely awesome. And then some Guardsmen here as well. So there's a lot of choice there, depending on what sort of army you're in. Again, if you're doing some war bands, great. If you're doing armies, great. But I think the big standout in this set, for me at least, is all their Chaos stuff there. It looks really, really good. I keep getting tempted to do chaos, but I don't want to do lots of black and gold trim because that would drive me mad. Also, just trying to do another army will drive me mad. But again, they're compatible with one-page rules, and I feel like almost every single creator now is compatible with one-page rules, which is a really good thing because it's a great little game system and it's free. I've been playing a lot of one-page rules recently, and I don't do much tabletop gaming. For all my sins, I don't really normally get a chance to, and I keep trying to get into 40k or Age of Sigmar, and I always fail. But played a few games of one-page rules, and I'm hooked now. I think it's a fun game system that's easy to get other people into very quickly. So that is Gavok, and there's lots of chaos stuff there. Next up, we've got print minis, and I've put Necromunda Gang / Gene Stealer Cult and lots of terrain. So let me pull that up. Once my computer finally loads. That's it. Oh, it's all over the place, their preview, which is random. But yeah, so there's a lot going on for this one as well. So basically, this would be great if you were either a Necromunda player, if you wanted to make some terrain for your gaming system, whether or not that's just like a sci-fi game, or if you can play something like Kill Team. There's a lot going on. So you've got some fun little terrain there. You've got the render of it. But then you come on to like your... it definitely looks a lot of fun to make like either a Necromunda Gang or Gene Stealer Cult stuff as well. So there's loads of bits going on here. So here we go. You got this set here, and these are obviously the cult. You know, the Code Splicer Cult. Yeah, we're getting close to some copyright infringement there, but we'll accept it. So you've got like the multiple arms here. They're all modular bits as well, so you can change them up. You can customize them to your heart's content. Really nice. I like these a lot. There's a lot of detail on there again. Nice poses. They look a lot of fun to paint as well. A lot of fun to go through. So that's nice. Got all the bits here so you can change them up. Yeah, I really like these. There's a lot going on with these. And again, because they're modular, you can just kind of play around with them and make them your own, which is nice. They've also got some desert rats as well. So if you want some rats to go with them, you know, maybe make something a bit more thematic. I mean, they're big rats. They're really big rats. And then you've got some other bits to go with them as well, so like your bounty hunters. So, like I mentioned, you've got all the terrain bits there. You've got bits you can make like a Necromunda Gang. You've got stuff that you can make a warband with. There's loads of stuff there, so absolutely like it. So next up, we've got Den of Imagination. And they normally end up on the channel with these monthly videos with a lot of like Nurgle stuff and a lot of units. This month, they've gone to town on tanks. I think that's really good because I think I mentioned it last month that there's not normally that many vehicle creators. So it's nice to have this. And every month that I see these, I get really tempted because the Nurgle stuff looks fantastic. I've resisted so far, but good range of stuff there, especially for your tanks and everything. I think that'd be really nice and so much detail going on these. So I like the weapons and everything there where they're just being plagued and stuff. I really like these. They look fantastic. And then you've got like the little units to go with them as well. So all in all, a really, really good set. If you are into your Nurgle army, or if you're thinking of starting one, then it's probably worthwhile checking out Den of Imagination. Next up, I've got Diverging Realms. This is a new one that I've not seen before or had on the channel. And I've got Custodians. Now brace yourself, keyboard warriors. These might be controversial. And I'm not going to get into the controversy because it's just stupid. Play the game the way you want to play the game and do your own lore and everything. But I think these look really, really nice. But the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice there's some lady sculpts in there. Lady Custodian has caused so much fuss on the internet, which is just crazy. But these look great. I think they look absolutely fantastic. And whether or not you wanted to make your own lore or bring them into something else, I think these look fantastic. And again, they're all modular. There's a great amount of detail on there without being obnoxious detail, which is nice. And I just think these look really, really good. So there's an overview of like all the posing and everything else there. I think the bodies look fantastic. Some of the more action poses are there, so if you want to have that charging. But for the most part, they're 2 feet planted on the ground and a good range of stuff there. Great range of weapons, said that weirdly. And I think this is interesting, the fact that you can change the top of the weapon and add it onto the end of the spear here. But I really like these. I think they look fantastic. So that is Diverging Realms, and it's like a custodian kit. Or if you wanted to do something different with your army, I think you could have a lot of fun with that. But controversy aside, they look amazing. I really like them. And finally for sci-fi, we've got Immaterium God Miniatures. And this is Chaos Knights, tanks, and units. So it seems like everybody who's in like the Chaos space in terms of creators this month has definitely dived a little bit deeper into vehicles, which kind of makes sense, I guess, if they've been doing all the units, they've got to that stage now. These look great. I think they look fantastic. Also, you've got like your Land Raider style proxy. Then you've got the little, is it Armiger Knights? And then I think this guy's the big beastie knight, so he comes on a big old plate here. I like the Land Raider. I think that looks fantastic. I don't think the renders really do these justice this month. I don't know, they seem almost like quite a static pose for everything. And I think the renders could have been done a little bit nicer. But they almost, I mean, like the way they're holding like the rocket launchers and stuff here are quite reminiscent of old school Warhammer, which isn't a bad thing. But I do like these. I think there's a lot of good stuff here as well. So if you are into your Chaos stuff, there's a lot there. They're a bit cleaner, obviously, than the Nurgle stuff that we showed off earlier, but I like these. I think they're great. I'm almost tempted to sub again to them just for the tank, but that would draw me into doing another army or completing my Emperor's Children army. I printed some, and then I gave up after printing. Well, I gave up after painting one of them because I had so many other things to do. So that is the end of sci-fi. So moving across onto D&D, and first up is the one that I can never ever pronounce, Bestiarium or Bestiarum. These guys. And they have gone, what have they gone? Undead Nurgly things I wrote, which is really helpful. Cool. Oh yeah, here we go. Right, where's the overview? So, like I mentioned, undead Nurgly beasts. And I think all of these look great. So here we go. They look so weird. And again, you're going to get your adventure and everything to go with these and all your stat blocks and everything else. And these are ones that are just making me like, I think I talk about a few times, you see the models that make me wonder what the story is. And this is one of these. And I think they all look really good. And I think not only would they be great for D&D, but either making like a Nurgle type warband or to add to your Nurgle or Undead army, I think they would be great because you've got all of these other like corrupted beasts. And I don't think we see enough stuff, in my opinion anyway, that is like corrupted by chaos from Warhammer or Age of Sigmar or anything like that. I would love to see like all of these like gnomes that have been corrupted and fairies that have been corrupted. These look fantastic. So much going on with these, and you've got things like your heroes and bits to go with them. And then, like I mentioned, then you get your adventure, your overview, and this like undead angel type creature. That looks fantastic. All in all, I really like the look of this set. There's a lot going on, a lot of detail there, but the way there's like flames, I could imagine doing some like undead beast and having them really cold and having all these really cold flames coming off them. I think that would look quite fun. The big thing that stands out to me is those like Nurgle chaos type creatures. I think that'd be really good fun to kind of put onto the board and have as something just a little bit different. Next up, we've got Cast and Play, and I've written Arcane Order. Let's jog my memory. What do these ones have? So here we go. So these ones, I think, would be great for so many different things. First up, obviously, you're going to get your D&D style stuff. So you can have them as heroes, villains, and all of that, and you're going to get your adventure and stuff to go with it. But I think these would make some really fun war bands, but probably more attractive to someone who's playing like Frostgrave, because there's some really interesting ones going on here. You've got all like your different witches and wizards, and I think you could have a lot of fun. And then like your elementals that they could be summoning. There's so much going on. Like if you made like a necromancer guild or something like that, you've got these like undead bits that are coming up, these mercenaries. So I think these would be some fantastic figures to go in with something like Frostgrave. I really like them, and they're all in quite fun little poses. There's a lot going on there. And if we go to like the overview of them, like the more zoomed in stuff, you're like, so you've got your elemental, up there first, and all your different like spells and stuff that you could be using. And then like your undead mercenaries. And I think these look great. They look just a little bit different, a bit more cartoony. The whole thing's a little bit more cartoony than a lot of other stuff out there. But I like it. I really like the art style for these. And then things like your different witches and wizards. There's just so much going on here. And again, enough detail on there that they would be fun to paint without being over detailed and obnoxious. And I like the fact that there's almost seems to be a sorcerer, sorceress, witch, witchess, whatever, different styles. So you've got so many different things. You've got some that look a bit more necromantic. You've got things like, obviously, these ones here, the ice and snow enchantress. Then you've got your more like traditional witch and all the different bases. There's so much going on here that would make absolutely fantastic stuff for something like Frostgrave. So definitely worthwhile checking out. This is the Arcane Order, and that is by Cast and Play. Next up, we've got good old Dragon Trapper's Lodge, and for this one I've written that they've gone for like a Final Fantasy style creatures and saurians. So let's pull that up and again jog my memory. I should just do this video like at the same time I look through things because I forget so much. Here we go. Yes, so this is like the overview bit, and I think like straight away as soon as I saw this, I just thought Final Fantasy, and not necessarily the new style Final Fantasies, but things like Final Fantasy 7 and 8, when you had like the big old, is it Bahamut? And like that dragon looks awesome, and then you've got these weird like guardian fighters, and just all the summons and everything. They look really, really good. I absolutely love these. I think they look fantastic. So there we go. So the big old dragon, that looks so random, but it absolutely looks like something that's taken out of old school Final Fantasy and just dunked on the table. And I feel like so many of these look like that. You know, that again, that looks like some kind of summon that you'd bring up. That looks terrifying, but it would certainly fit. And some of them look like, I guess, almost the monsters you would fight in old school Final Fantasy as well. I mean, this, I don't even know what's going on here, but I don't want to be a part of that. But there's so much. But then they've also done all of your like saurians as well. So if you're into collecting your lizardmen, so let's skip past these. Here we go. So you also get all of like your saurian stuff, and these look fantastic. So all your lizardmen, saurians, dinosaurs on the tabletop. There's so much going on, and I really like them because they're random. Like these flyers, I think they look fantastic. Just they look more like your traditional lizardmen style things. But these guys, I mean, what earth is going on with these? They're fantastic. Like Dragonborn stuff. There's just so much going on with all of those. So a lot to get there. Compatible again with one-page rules because, you know, why not? So it's worthwhile checking out. So that's Dragon Trapper's Lodge, and they've got a lot going on. Maybe too much. I think if I got that pack, I wouldn't even know where to start. And final on the D&D set is The Printing Goes Ever On and Van Helsing style. I've written for this one. So it loads up. Yeah, so their monthly set is called The Hunt Beyond the Grave. And again, it's going back to that undead stuff. There is a lot of undead stuff, but these look great again. There's so much here. So it's basically Van Helsing on the tabletop, but you get some terrain pieces, you get your adventure to go with it, and some amazing looking sculpts for this. And here we go. So like your villains, you've got this zombie dragon, which looks awesome. This bone nugger, which looks awesome. This, which is terrifying. Like absolutely terrifying. Banshee, the swarms. I just really like these. I mean, this moth thing is horrible. And yeah, these look fantastic. And then you've got your heroes as well. And again, look amazing. Your hunter here, you're more like your paladin and everything. There's just so much going on with this set. And they look amazing. The amount of detail on there is really good. But I think it's a really nice balance between being too detailed and not enough. So they've done a really, really good job with that. So then you get your adventure with it and your overview of like your terrain. So like your graveyard pieces, your props, your scatter terrain and stuff like that. And then the big old ruined chapel. I think this set is one of my favourites, especially out of the D&D lot this month. just because it all looks really nice. There's not too much with it, which I think sometimes is, a bit of an issue. There's just so much to print. But with this, there's just the right, I guess, balance between having some really good looking sculpts and some terrain pieces to go with it and not having too much of it. So I really like this. This looks fantastic. It's interesting as well. I don't know, anybody who's been a sub for them for longer or knows a bit more about them, because they used to do more just Lord of the Rings stuff, which they still do. But I wasn't aware that they were doing the D&D stuff. I always figured that it was more like fantasy tabletop Lord of the Rings style things. But apparently you've got some D&D stuff now as well. So the printing goes over on, and a really good undead set. And now we are on to terrain. So I've put Infinite Dimensions up first, and that's an interior set and a house. So this one is quite fun. Again, if you are looking for just some bits to print off, and I think this would be more for your D&D style player, in my opinion anyway, just because you don't get much that you'd be able to put on a battlefield. So you're probably not going to have all of this stuff dumped around on a battlefield. But I think if you were doing a D&D campaign and you wanted to just add something to the interior of a house, there's a lot here going on. Because for the most part, whenever you get a building, it tends to be like the shell of the building. And you print that out, and yeah, that's great, especially if it's for wargaming, because then you can put your units in there and hide it. You're not bothered about the interiors. But if it's D&D and you're building out a village or something like that, you just want some extra furniture and stuff to go in there, just to maybe, I don't know, hide the objective in one of those things and your players go around and explore it. So there's a lot here to be able to print off. I think it's just a nice extra to have. On its own, probably not the most enticing thing, but if you paired it up with some other buildings, I think it's a really good one to go for. Next up, we've got STL miniatures, and it's an orc and an elf camp. So this one probably is more for your wargaming or your just general tabletop gaming stuff. They've got an elven camp and an orc camp. So first up, you've got your orc camp, and you also get some miniatures to go with these as well. And the miniatures actually look really nice. I think I covered them last month, and the terrain looked really good, but I wasn't keen on the miniatures. But this month, these minis look really, really good. And you've got your elf camp as well to go with that. I think this is quite fun in terms of, like I said, you could have it for just like a big old war game. But for like a warband type game, you have, I don't know, you could make something that's a bit more capture the flag. So you've got your orc camp on one side and your elf camp on one side, and then no man's land in the middle. And they've got to like get something from each other's camp. I think that'd be quite fun just to set up. There's weird little spiders to go with them as well. But in my opinion, I mean, I don't know what that is, but it's terrifying. Don't want to bump into that on a dark night. But for me, the big thing is going to be those camps. I think they look great. Because we get some scattered terrain. That was really hard to say. But you get scattered terrain and all the bits as well. So you could just have that all around the battlefield and just, I don't know, go wild with it. So that's STL miniatures with their orc camp and their elf camp. And then next we've got terrain for print, and they've got some Gothic buildings. So if you're looking for something for your sci-fi set, if either your kill team or you're looking for something for 40k or just any other style or just any other style of thing, you've got that all here. So we pop those up. See big old like Gothic buildings, which look great. You can have your interiors to put your units into. You can get some height advantage and stuff like that. Shame we've not got any like, I guess, the proper renders and stuff like that. But this gives you an idea of what you're going to get from them this month. And there's a lot of Gothic buildings here. And then, of course, it wouldn't be 40k style terrain without some Gothic ruins as well. And these look great. I think they'd be quite fun to print. I think if you've got an FDM printer, definitely worthwhile checking out if you're looking to get some sci-fi terrain. Next up, we've got Sali Factory, the name that I always butcher. I've written down ruins, rocks, and tiles. So let's pop this one up. Here we go. So again, this is more for like your sci-fi gaming. If you're doing something like a kill team or just general sci-fi, you've got all of these like ruins here. And I think these would be quite fun. And they come on these different tiles, so you can then like connect them all up and have a bit of a city to build and play. Then you've also got some big old rocks as well. So if you want to have that like scattered around the outside or just something a little bit different, you've got that there. And then going through these, I believe they do a big old tile set as well, but just some kind of additional renders there of all the different bits. So you've got your height advantage, so you've got your up and down scale, all of that jazz. And where are the tiles? But there's a good amount of stuff here. So as you can see, lots of different things to print off. You can customize it to your heart's content, I guess, and just have a bit of a fun play. I like these when they've got the little kind of like bits to connect the top to them, because that way it's less likely to fall down. Because the last thing you want to do is have no connector. Put your models up top there and then they fall off and break, because that's always fun. Right, okay. And there we go. And then you've got all the bits here, so like your little tiles that you can print off. And I guess on their own, they're probably not the most enticing thing, but quite nice that you could then have like a big thing you just print off just to put over the tabletop and then put all your buildings around it. It just kind of helps to knit it all together, because it's always nice having terrain on the tabletop, but when you've just got like a black cloth down or a green cloth down, it sometimes just doesn't look quite right. But then having something that's themed in the same way as all your terrain just helps to tie it all together and just makes it a bit more fun. And last on terrain, I've got Vesna Minis, and it's a farm. And this one is going to be great for your fantasy players, your D&D players. They've got all these different farm buildings and animals, if you want to print off some animals as well. But I like these. Obviously, you've got things like your little stable there. You've got all the farm buildings. You've got like your little beehives as well over here. There's a lot going on with these. I really like these. I could never, up until I guess like this, I've never really found that many good farm sets. So this would be quite nice. If you're doing something, I don't know, like D&D campaign, quite nice to have these sort of buildings scattered around, maybe visiting a farm or something like that. I think these look great. There's a lot going on here, a lot of choice, a little stable there as well. And then your sheep, because everyone needs some sheep. But I guess it's nice to have like your little animals to go with them all here. So that's Vesna Minis and a nice looking little farm set. And last but not least, you've got your Kickstarter and your Frontiers. So all the campaign bits. And the first one I've got is this Legions Imperialis style thing. So this looks great. So this is Epic Sector Sanctuary. And if you are into Legions Imperialis, rather than paying the really big prices that you have to pay elsewhere, these look good. I mean, look at these. There's a lot of stuff going on here. So you've got all your different buildings, your different road tiles and stuff like that. I really like these. And I did a video, it was a few months back now, before I gave up on Legions Imperialis, because Games Workshop, in my opinion, handled it so badly. I made like the big city thing, and I had all these like little road systems and stuff, which was kind of fun. But having the tiles, I think, makes so much more sense. And these look great. We go through the rest of it. So you got, it's all modular. I like that. So you can swap it all out. If you want to have like different bits of ruins on there, that's great. And it just means it's easier to swap out. So if you want a different style of building or an objective, you can change that around. All the different heights, different bits here. So, oh, look at that go. They've done a really good job with the Kickstarter, I think. Like the way all these renders are moving, the way it all looks, the way it's all displayed. They've actually got some examples of painted stuff as well. I think it looks fantastic. All the different rooftops. There's so much choice here, and all the different ruins as well. And I do wonder, like, taking something like this and scaling it up, because they've got enough detail on there that they probably look quite good even at like your 32mm. Probably take a lot of filament. And I backed the Zombie Apocalypse one from last month that I covered, but the ground tiles, they look great. I think that is something I'd quite like to have. I recently did a video where I did loads of hex tiles for like fantasy, but I think having loads of big square tiles for sci-fi would probably be quite good to build out like a massive city and just have a lot of fun with that. You've got like your bridges, road systems, just systems for everything to go onto. These look great, like a river type system. I really like the look of this set. I think this looks amazing. It'd be a lot of work. Oh, yeah. So going back to the actual point of this, if you are into your small scale gaming, if you've been doing a lot of the 15mm, I know a lot of people come over to my Discord and they talk about 15mm. I've done a few videos on that. I think this would be great. At 32 might be a little bit too much work, but I might try it, especially for those ground tiles. I think there's some really good stuff going on there. Next up, we've got, I've written Dungeon Blocks Space Interior. Now this, I think, again, looks great. So let's wait for it to load. So this is Dungeon Blocks, the Infinite Spaceship. And this is going to be great for anybody who is into like Space Hulk. or even I think Kill Team would probably be a really good example of this. So basically, you build out your spaceship, and you've got all your different styles there. So as I quickly scroll through these, but then you can print off all the different dungeon blocks, so all the different walls and everything else. Can we have an example of it? Nope. There you go. So that kind of gives you a little bit of an overview of like the base size and the wall size and everything else as well. An example there. So here we go. Like a printed board, and that looks amazing. Like that looks really fun. So you can swap out all your modules. If you were playing something like, I don't know, Space Hulk, I think this would be great because then you could change it all around and have a lot of fog of war if you've got it all mapped out and stuff. A lot of stuff going on there. It'd be great for things like Kill Team or just any type of space board games. I think, is it Nemesis? Looks like a good one that you'd be able to play with. I'm just trying to think of any of them now. Doom. There's lots of choice there. You can have a lot of fun with that. It really adds some more depth to some of those type of games. You've got some more like overview of those, what they look like, all the bits in there. A lot of detail. So I don't know if you would paint it or if you just go for like a quick blast of silver and maybe a bit of a dry brush or something, but it'd be a really fun project. So that's worthwhile having a look at. And then next I've got a cultist port written down here. Here we go. So this is a cultist port, nice and simple there, nice easy name to remember. And this would be good fun for anybody who's doing, I guess, D&D, or if you wanted something again for wargaming, just a bit more thematic, you get a lot of stuff there. So you've got like your, I don't know, shrine bit there, this lighthouse as well, all modular pieces that you can print off. So that way, again, if you were doing D&D, you can have all your characters inside of it, you can play around with it. Or the different buildings, like all your dockside buildings here, again, modular, roof pops off, all these bits pop off here as well. So it just makes it easier to print, I guess. This cool, like, sunken pirate ship that's been turned into a watchtower. There's loads of stuff there, and there's a lot of stuff to, like a tavern. Nice. So again, no matter what you're doing, if it's a D&D campaign, I think this would be fantastic. If there's a wargaming campaign, I think this would be fantastic. There's a lot of stuff there that you can play with. And last is Sci-Fi Arena. Let's pop that one up. So this is the Rust Rumble Arena. And I think this would just be nice to have either on a battlefield, so whether or not it's a big old world that you're doing, it'd be great to have for something like Necromunda, it'd be great for just any kind of kill team and stuff. It's just a little bit random. Obviously, you've got all the play space inside of it. You're probably not going to have too much battling or fighting and stuff in there, but I think it looks really nice. It's just a little bit different to other stuff that I've seen recently. And I think it would just stand out on the tabletop. So that's another one to have a look at. And that is it for this month's sets. And there's a lot of choice, as always, out there. A lot of really fun stuff. A lot of undead stuff. But I really like there's a whole lot of stuff going on there. Let me know in the comments, is there anything that you think really stands out this month that I haven't covered? I can't cover every creator, unfortunately, because otherwise these videos would go on for weeks. But all in all, some fantastic bits to choose from. So hopefully I will see you in the next one. Let me know, what are you going to be printing this month? What projects are you currently working on? And if you want to chat more, head on over to my Discord channel where we chat all things hobby, printing, and all of that fun stuff. And in the meantime, stay safe. I will see you in the next one. Bye.